We actually have Altergeist for you today. That's not something that I've seen hardly anything of. The power of the Raika with Rikka. I mean, that's a deck name, Rikka. And the Going Second Dragons, along with some other interesting decks. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Magical Dimension. Hey man, if you control a free spellcaster, target one monster your opponent controls, tribute that monster, and then special summon a spellcaster monster from your hand, and then you can destroy one monster on the field. Do we really need this for this deck? I honestly kind of think that Altergeist taking advantage of Magical Dimension is kind of an interesting concept. An immediate spot removal option to, take care of a more troublesome monster that the opponent might have, and then the ability to bring down, maybe an extra little extension option like an extra Mellozeek or something. I think you have options with this deck, and that's something that we kind of find ourselves feeling like we're missing a lot of out here. Now, we are playing Small World. I mean, do you really blame them, though? You have so many different attributes and things to bridge these gaps to get to these power cards that your deck is trying to play. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, also this extra deck, wow. Triple Adminia, 2 memory gain. Like, I miss the days of, having some other extra resources in here, but now this deck wants to focus on more of the Altergeist side of things, the way it looks. So that's actually kind of interesting, but Magical Dimension in my Altergeist pile. Okay, next up here, we have Rikka. Yeah, say that 10 times fast and expect to do some crazy things with this. So basically, we are playing the amazing, beautiful Raika Kurizaki. This card is actually really good because the 300 boost across the board, and then powering down your opponent's cards is also really good. And it gives you the ability to add a Raika and then discard any card from your hand. Typically, this stupid good card's going to come into play because, sending a free insect along the way to special summon this thing, and then you can add up to 2 Raika cards with different names that are banished and or in your deck to your hand. This card's really good, so you can go get the insect and you can go get the Tokage here, and you can kind of start to go down these little different lines of play with the deck. Obviously, plant, insect, and only 1 copy of the reptile. Most of this generic support's going to assist you in building up these really good boards. And of course, the trap card. Man, banishing this target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it if one of your plants are, popped by battle or card effect. This is actually pretty important to the deck. And then, of course, it looks like we are doing pretty much, well, we're doing 2 of the Dokoro here, but everything else looks like it's going to be one-ofs in the department for, the recurability that this deck kind of gets. It's actually pretty crazy to see what these little guys can actually do. All right, what else we got back here? Tenpai Dragons. This has started to show up as a pretty crazy tech choice out here, and I have definitely this card is a lot better than I think people give it credit for. So you can only use this card's name's first effect once per turn. During the main phase, the turn player can excavate cards from the top of their deck up to the number of cards their opponent controls, and if they do, they add 1 of them to their hand, and then they place the rest and 1 card from their hand on the bottom of the deck in any order. This deck has found this card gives the deck a chance to find any of these cards that it's going to need to break these really stupid, crazy boards that we've been seeing, start to show up out here in the game. I mean, you have Book of Eclipses, you have Droplets, everything. I mean, even like Dimension Shifter here, just, getting this deck the chance to blink a turn off of your opponent so you can start, snowballing this pretty big advantage train for this deck. It's all pretty important. I know a few people are going to look at this and they're going to go, do we really need to play things like this? Yes, you need. A lot more people, I think, are going to start to pick this card up. It's a little bit harder with Max C in the mix because, you just get all the free advantage off of Maximus Outputus, but that's fine. Interesting little options for sure. Next up here, we have the power of the Silent Forces, aka Voiceless Voice, and I love the fact that the only thing that changed for this deck was they got one new card. You can target a Voiceless Voice card of cards is banished from your graveyard and add it to your hand. And if a non-ritual monster is normal or special, you can activate this effect. You can ritual summon one light or dragon warrior monster from your hand by attributing monsters from your hand and or field whose total level equal or exceed that monster, and it cannot be destroyed by a battle. That one of matters all that much in this deck, because basically what you're able to do is you interact now with your banish pile. You pull back any of these resources that have been expended along the way, or maybe you've lost that you need to recur back, and this gives you the chance to do that. And then it also gives you another acting method to ritual summon. That is actually kind of crazy for this deck. I mean, your rituals haven't really changed. It's still 2 Skull Guardian, the 1 Sarvis, and the 1 Pendulum Graph. Most of these builds aren't trying to go too crazy out of their way anymore, and also Dynamond is just an insane card for a deck like this. Like, I think actually Dynamondo is one of the reasons why this deck is able to function, because if we split into a Novox and the Skull Guardian during your opponent's turn, it's so good. Like, thank you for being such a good card, Novox. I'm so happy. All right, what else we got back here this week? We also have, oh boy, we have DNA surgery and DNA transplant in here. What in the world? Okay, so this is interesting. So we're also citing a DNA surgery and a DNA transplant in here as well. Does it? I mean, technically you can change all of your opponent's monsters' attributes to something not fire, and then you can just kind of laugh at them all the way, to the bank. I'm also surprised it took Runic this long to want to play Kaiser Coliseum, because you would think, oh boy, look, I have Hugin face up on the field. We now have one monster. Now the opponent can only have one monster. You would think things like that would actually matter all that more, and this is kind of cool. So the deck has also chosen to play some Golden Lords in here. I mean, to be fair, it is a free auto spot removal for the deck, and I mean, you can feed off your dead Runic cards along the way and put another monster on the field. So, you can get to, little extra link monsters like the SP Little Knight and start to try to put that pressure on your opponent. I love the fact that Runic still can play all of these different little options along the way, and this deck can still look pretty crazy in order for what it does. I see that we also have the where there's a will, there's a way. I'll also seeing play in here. Not too bad. We also have this very interesting take here on Horus. I will say that, a lot of these Horus builds, you basically are trying to play a control game with that, and I think that's fine, Horus stuff, being able to finally, I guess, have access to the Protector, or the fact that you want to be able to play a more pure build for a deck like this, and you're able to do so, it's good. Also, the field spell is just kind of the nuts. Having 6 Golden Sarcophagus in your deck, not a single person's complaining about upping the consistency of this deck. Like, well, maybe not everybody. Also, Heavy Storm actually starting to see a lot more play out here in some of these more wild card decks. If you're looking at something that you want to have fun with, maybe Pure Horus is just kind of the thing. Thank you, Giant Trainer, for being such a good card to have fun with. Also, we do get to play the one Horus, the Black Flame Deity. And our last list for today is adding Nister. I know that the list plays circular. I'm sorry, all right? Finding these lists out here that don't necessarily mess around with the little craziness of the best Cybers card I feel like ever invented in mankind's dueling history, well, it's still limited to 1 in the OCG. But with that one limitation, you do face some pretty interesting things. This build, also do keep in mind, with recent innovations, they're no longer really pushing for that big towers monster. These decks feel like they're trying to branch off and try different things. They don't really want to try to bulk down on the little crazy things anymore. You want to keep things consistent. You want to try out these different lines of play. And, most of the firewall stuff is pretty gosh darn good for what it wants to do. So I think that this is a pretty interesting take. Honestly, seeing adding Nister even able actually to perform out here has been very, very cool to see. Especially, we just had one on the TCG side as well. So, good stuff. So what do you guys think about all of the good stuff out here? Please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.